All right, hello everyone. How is everyone today? Happy Monday. It is Monday today and we were out last week. So I was actually out at our home office filming some fun new videos for you guys coming up with lots of new things. So that's where we were last week. But you guys, if you are regulars to our channel here, I missed you guys. I missed you guys all, whether you're regulars or not regulars. But thank you for joining us back again today. I've got a couple of nails that I've already done here. I'm going to swap those out so I can show you exactly how to create the nails that we've got on here. So let me pop those in and we'll go ahead and get started in just a second. Let me pull my chat up here, see what you guys are talking about. And we'll get started in just a second. Just give everybody a chance to jump in. All right. Oh, you guys, I got to turn my volume down here. I'm listening to myself talk. All right. Happy Monday. All right, you guys, I want to know how many of you guys were just over in our Whatnot? Let me know. Did you guys join us on Whatnot just a little bit ago? We just finished up there. I would love to know, were you there? Were you not there? Did you not know that we have a Whatnot? If you did, awesome. If you didn't know, we have a Whatnot as well. So jump over to that at some point as well. But let's go ahead and get started on our nails. I'm trying to find my magic wand here. All right, so we're going to start by just prepping our nails just like we always do. Let me come in nice and close. And you guys, I do have some nails that are already prepped, but I want to show you exactly how we do our prep here. So we're going to just start by pushing back the cuticles. Oh my goodness, you guys, look at my cuticles. They are so dry. I'm going to grab my, oh, not my cuticle softener. I'm going to grab my cuticle oil here, give myself a little bit of cuticle oil. Look at how dry those are, you guys. Traveling always is really hard on my cuticles. It's hard on my nails. So I always like to refresh my cuticles after I've been traveling a bit. And so that is what I need to do today here. So before we get started, let me just give my poor little cuticles a little love. So a little bit of cuticle oil on those, soften those up, keep those nice and hydrated. Looks like you guys, look like a couple of you were on our Whatnot. Hopefully you bid on some fun items and hopefully you got some great deals on there. Make sure to join us again next time. We're going to have so much fun on, you guys, we have so much fun on all of our different social media platforms. So make sure to check us out on Whatnot, check us out here on YouTube. Let's get started now that I've got my cuticles a little more hydrated. So we're going to go through and just start by pushing back our cuticles, get those cleaned up. You always want to make sure that you are pushing back those cuticles before you do any of the rest of your prep. That way they're going to be easier to clean up when we go into our e-file. And I've got my mandrel here. I'm going to put that in a little bit closer there. And I'm going to remove my old sanding band. And we'll grab a nice, clean, new sanding band, one that's got a good amount of grit to it. And we'll grab that, put our new sanding band on, and pop that on there. Nice and quick and easy. Now I'm going to turn my e-file to about 5,000 RPMs, and we'll go ahead and turn that on. And I'm just going to come through, let me readjust my camera here real quick for you guys. There we go. All right, so we're just going to go through our cuticle area very gently, just basically making contact, and then I'm going to feather that bit all the way through, just gently to remove the shine. Same thing on our next nail, right up around the cuticle. And really, as we're removing the shine, what we're really doing is basically breaking up the surface oils on that nail. So it's going to be easier to remove. So when we're doing enhancements, whether it's acrylic, gels, gel polish, any kind of enhancement, we always want to start with a nice clean, dry surface for our product to grab onto. If you don't start with that clean, dry surface, if you have oils on the nail, if you have bacteria on the nail, whatever you got on there, you want to make sure you get that cleaned off so you've got great adhesion. So what we're going to use to clean the nail is Swipe. So Swipe is our cleanser. We're going to pump a little bit of that onto our manicure brush. I'm going to go through and just dust off that nail, really giving that a good cleanse. And this is also going to help to pull out some of those excess oils and contaminants that may be on the surface of those nails. So just really quick and easy to prep. And then the next thing we're going to use is Protein Bond. Now, Protein Bond is not a primer. I know a lot of other products use a primer, but Protein Bond is not a primer. Protein Bond, you can see on the bottle, it says non-acid adhesion. So what that means is this does not have any of that methacrylic acid that a lot of other primers do. So instead of it being a primer, it's actually a bonder. And what I mean by that is it's going to bond to that natural nail, but then you're going to notice it doesn't dry back out to that chalky look. It's going to stay sticky, and that's what's going to grab onto our acrylic that we're putting on today. So when I do acrylics or gels, sorry guys, acrylics or hard gels, I always put 2 coats of Protein Bond on. This way I've got really great adhesion, and I know for sure that I've got an even application all the way through. Kim says, Protein Bond is amazing. Absolutely, you guys. Protein Bond is a great bonder, whether you're working with acrylics, hard gels, gel polish, even if you're working with just one of our regular air dry polishes, one of our regular nail polishes, you can use the Protein Bond under that to give you a little bit better adhesion. So absolutely never skip your Protein Bond, especially when you're working with our acrylics. All right, let's get into our sculpted nail. So we're going to be sculpting a little bit of a longer almond shape here. And I think today I'm going to use our XL forms. Now, could you use our traditional regular forms? Yes, you could. But you guys, for today, I feel like I'm just going to have some fun and use one of our XL forms. Now I'm going to peel that off the back. Take that little tab out of the center. You guys, I always say this is our little dancing ghost. You want to take that little dancing ghost and stick that right on the back of the form. And that's going to give our form a little bit more support, a little bit more durability. And then I'm going to roll that form over, pinch my 2 little tabs together nice and evenly. And then, because we're not doing a crazy long nail today, we're not going to be sculpting on that whole entire form. I am going to pinch my form a little bit shorter, so this way it's going to still have that nice tapered angle here, but it's not going to be so long. So I'm going to pinch that down a good amount, and then to kind of get the rest of this form out of my way, I'm just going to use my scissors and snip off that end. So like I said, you could use those the blue forms, the traditional forms, but it's a personal preference. You can use either one. I'm going to open up that little perforation at the top, and we're going to get our form up underneath the nail here, and I'm going to start at just a slight downward angle with my form. And you guys, I'm showing you guys this from the side view. Normally I'm going to be looking at it a little bit more straight on, but I want you guys to see exactly what I'm doing here. So we're going to start at a slight downward angle. You know what? Let me come in a little closer. There, you guys can see a little bit better. Okay, so again, start at a slight downward angle. Bring that form right up underneath that free edge. You're going to catch that free edge, and then you're going to rock that form up. And by rocking that up, that's going to bring it right up flush underneath that natural nail, and then you're going to secure it down on the sides. Now you guys, let me do this from the front view so I can actually see and make sure that my form is going on nice and straight. So again, slight downward angle, catch that free edge, lift up, rock that up from the free edge, and secure that down on the sides. Right down along those sides there, and it looks like we're nice and straight on the nail. All right, so we are going to be sculpting today with acrylic, and I'm going to grab my powder. So my powder that I'm using, this one is our Cover Pink acrylic. I absolutely love this one for any kind of a nude nail, or if you're just going to be wearing a gel polish over the top. It's a great neutral base for your acrylic. Somebody's asking, what about bitten nails? Lisa, we have got a ton of videos here on our YouTube channel to show you how to customize your forms for bitten nails. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and you can check out all of those videos. And we've got over 3,000 videos for you here. So check out our YouTube channel and take a look at all those videos, and you can do a quick search of customizing forms. And we've got a bunch of great videos that'll come up for you there. All right, I am just cleaning out my Dappen dish. I had a little bit of monomer in there from the last time I was working, and I always want to start with a nice clean Dappen dish and clean fresh monomer. If you try to use old monomer or add new monomer to your old monomer, a lot of times you don't get the proper consistency. So always start with nice, clean, fresh monomer. All right, I'm going to grab my brush, and here's my little trick that I love to show you guys, is if you open up your bottle, take your brush, your acrylic brush, touch the brush to the top of your bottle. You can pour that liquid straight down into the bottle, and that is going to help you pour your monomer without spilling. So just a quick little easy trick for you, just to make life a little bit easier. All right, and what I've got here is I've got our table towels. They're actually going to cover a good amount of my table here, but if you saw me at the very beginning of our live stream here, I was cutting them into smaller pieces. I like to just have a little stack of those in front of me so that when I wipe my brush, I've always got a nice clean space to wipe my brush. If I'm picking up my pearls and I set my pearl down, or maybe as I'm working, if I get a little bit of product maybe on my brush and I need to wipe my brush, this table towel is going to get kind of clogged with that acrylic. So then I just peel off the top, and I've always got a nice, clean, fresh place to wipe my brush. So very important to have a good table towel, a good absorbent table towel. And you guys, everything that I'm showing you here, everything that I'm using is all on our website at youngnails.com, and our moderators probably have that pinned in the chat for you guys already. So make sure to check that out if you need any of the product. All right, so we are going to be picking up our acrylic and we're going to be sculpting out our free edge. Now, I'm going to show you something here really quick. When we're working on the free edge, if we pick up our pearl, you guys, let me come back out just a tiny little bit so maybe you can see a little better. There we go. Okay, so when we pick up our pearl, I'm going to press the back side of my brush. I'm going to turn my brush over. I'm going to press, bounce my brush into our acrylic powder. If I were to just take that fresh pearl, set that onto my form, you're going to see that that pearl is going to start to run. It's going to move and it's going to start to kind of get out of control. Now I can use my brush to bring that into place, but do you see how much it's moving? I actually want my product to work for me instead of me having to do all of the work. So when I'm working on my form, when I'm creating my free edge here, what I like to do is I'll tap my brush in, I'm going to press in, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to make sure that all that powder has absorbed. Then I'm going to drain the liquid out from my brush. I'm just going to press that onto my table towel and maybe count for a count of 4. Okay, let me show you that one more time. So let me tap down my powder, tap the back side of my brush, turn my brush over, use the fully loaded side of my brush. I'm going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. Make sure all my powder has absorbed. I'm going to drain 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll actually notice that that pearl looks a little bit more dull, okay? Do you see how it's a little bit more cloudy looking? Let me show you the difference here. So if I were to pick up a pearl and leave it on the wetter side, do you see how shiny and wet that looks? When we're working on our forms, we actually don't want it that wet. So we're going to pick up another pearl. We're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to let it absorb. I'm going to drain out the liquid. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again, you're going to notice it looks more matte look. Okay, so it's going to look a little bit thicker. So let me show you one more time what we're going to do. So we had that first pearl that was running all over the place. With this one, when I pick this one up, let it absorb, drain out 1, 2, 3, 4. We have more of a matte finish. Then when I set that onto my form, now, whoops, I'm stuck to my form here, you guys. Now you can see it softens just a little bit, but it's not running. So now I can use my brush to actually press that into place. I can use the sides of my brush to tuck in on those edges. I can use the side of my brush to tuck in and straighten that out, all without that running out of control. So just by draining out some of that extra liquid, that's going to help us to be able to control our product a little bit better on our form. Let me grab a few more of my table towels here. So let me show you exactly what I mean on the form. Okay, we're going to tap our product down here, dab my brush into my monomer, tap the back side of my brush. I'm going to turn my brush over, use the fully loaded side of my brush. I'm going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. Let that absorb the powder. I'm going to drain out 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to set that pearl right in front of the nail, give it a good press down, clean out my brush quick, use the body of my brush to press that, tuck in on the sides, walk that up into the corner, tuck in on the sides, walk up into the corner, tuck in on the sides, walk up into the corner. Now I'm going to press my brush all the way across to make sure my product is even thickness all the way across. And then same thing, tuck in on the sides, walk up into the corner. Now, at this point, I'm going to start to pull that product down to the length that I want, still maintaining that proper thickness all the way across. You guys, that's why I keep coming from one side to the other. Tuck in on the sides. I think I'm even going to pinch my form just a little bit shorter. I don't think we were going to go quite that long. Tuck in on the sides, and because we're going to be creating a little bit more of an almond shape, I'm just going to bring that a little bit more to a point and then tuck right in at that point. Now we're not going to be making a stiletto, or we're going to be doing more of an almondetto. So I'm not going to bring it to a super tight point, but still just kind of alternating back and forth, tucking in on those sides, making sure that my lower arch is going to be nice and straight. Okay. Now we are going to be doing some filing on this nail. So if your free edge isn't 100% perfectly shaped, that's okay. If your point here is a little bit wonky, mine's still a little bit wonky, that's okay. You can use the edge of your brush to tuck that in if your product hasn't set yet. But if it has set, don't worry too much about that free edge. Don't worry too much about that point down there. We will be able to file that out, okay? Just as long as you do have a proper lower arch so that it's coming nice and straight out from that natural nail. So if I take my magic wand here, you can see that that free edge is coming straight out from that natural nail. It's not angling down, it's not angling up, it's nice and straight. So that's what we're looking for at this point. Anything else you're going to be able to file in and shape, okay? Now, we do need to build structure to this nail. So we're going to start with a pearl right back here by our cuticle area. Now, with this first pearl on the form, that one we actually drained out the liquid from. But with our pearl by the cuticle area, that one we don't want to drain out the liquid. That one we actually want to flow just a little bit. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different technique for applying that one. Same thing, we're still going to pick up our pearl the same. This time, I'm actually just going to wait a few seconds. I'm not going to drain out that liquid, but what I am going to do is count to about 4 or 5. And you'll see, I want you guys to look at this pearl nice and close. Okay, let me come in a little bit closer here. So take a look at this pearl. When I pick this one up, press, bounce, bounce, it's going to start by having a slight texture to it. So it goes from kind of that orange peel texture to now it actually looks more like a pearl. Once it gets to that pearl look, that's exactly what we're looking for. So we do give that pearl just a little bit of time to start to polymerize and start to set up, but we don't want it to set up completely. We want it to run and flow just a little bit. Okay. So again, we're going to pick up our pearl. We're going to press. Oops, you guys can't see that there. Okay, we're going to press, bounce, 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 bounce. Let that absorb. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's looking a little bit more on that smooth, shiny pearl look. I'm going to set that down right at my cuticle area. Now you guys, I'm actually going to wipe that off because I want to show you a couple other things here. When I'm setting that pearl down at the cuticle area, I don't have the finger sitting flat. I'm not putting my brush flat on the nail. I'm actually angling that finger slightly downward. So now I can use more of the point of the brush, okay? I'm going to be able to use the point of the brush to press out that cuticle area instead of putting my brush flat on the nail, because what can happen is if you put your brush flat on the nail, do you see all of, let me clean out my brush here. If I put my brush flat on the nail, do you see all of that space right in here? I want you guys to look right in here, right in between my brush and the nail. There's going to be a big kind of a ledge right in the back. Whereas if I angle that finger down and I use more of the point of my brush, I can press out that cuticle area and it's going to get nice and thin, nice and tapered right at the cuticle. Okay. The other thing, or the other reason why I have that nail angled downward, is because this way my product is going to flow down the length of the nail rather than down into the sides or back into the cuticle. You guys, the product is going to go with gravity. So if I'm holding the nail flat, my product is going to flow down to the sides here, or if I even have it slightly tilted with the free edge pointing upward, that product is going to flow back into the cuticle area. So I want to make sure that my product is flowing down the length and not back into the cuticle or sidewalls. Okay, so let me show you again exactly what I mean. So we're going to pick up our pearl, we're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to let it absorb 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even to 5. Angle the finger downward. I'm going to press that pearl down, release my brush. I'm going to use the point of my brush to tuck around the cuticle area, angling that finger straight down so that that product is going to flow. Okay, tucking around my sides here, tucking around the edges, getting that nice thin tapered area. I'm going to pivot my brush on the side. I'm going to blend out the edge, blend out just the edge of that bead, and then again pivot my brush on the sides. Now you guys, let me tell you, because a lot of this happens pretty quickly, so you do have to move quickly. So that's why I was trying to work fast here to get my product where I want it. So now let me explain a little bit more. So again, when I set my pearl down, I use the point of my brush and I tuck. So I just basically press, press. Now when I get to the side here, let me show you from this view. When I get to the side here, I pivot my brush on the side so that I can really tuck in around the edge here. So I'm not just pressing my brush flat, I'm actually pivoting on the side, and that's how I really taper in around that cuticle area. Okay, same thing on the sides here. When I get over to the side here, I don't just keep pressing flat, I pivot my brush on the side and then I can blend those edges down. Okay, same thing over here. Press, press, pivot my brush and I can blend down here. Now I just blend out the edge of that pearl. So that way, if we take a look at this from the side, we're going to have a nice thin cuticle area. We're going to have a little bit more thickness right in our stress area. Now we do need to fill in this low spot right here, but we do want to make sure that we are keeping a little bit of thickness right in that stress area. That's going to be our support for our nail. So that's how we're going to have a nice strong nail. Okay. Now for our next bead, we're going to pick up and we're going to do kind of a combination. So we're not going to drain out all of the liquid like we did on the free edge. We're not going to leave all of the liquid like we did in the cuticle area. What I'm going to do instead is just drain a little bit of the liquid. So we're going to press, bounce, bounce. I'm going to give it just a quick tap. I'm going to turn my brush around. I'm going to set that down. I'm going to blend back. Pivot my brush on the sides, blend back. Pivot my brush on the sides and blend back. That way, again, we're going to get that nice tapered side. We're going to use the brush. We're going to press that down towards the free edge. I still have the finger angled slightly downward, okay, bringing that product down to the free edge. Blending all the way down, kind of doing a pressing and pulling motion in one. I'm going to wipe out my brush and just pressing through. Now, I'm actually going to turn my brush around so I can just gently blend a little bit more of that product back up to that stress area. So this way I'm pulling product right up into here where I need it. I don't need any more thickness down there at the free edge, down at that point. So if I blend backwards, it's going to bring that product a little bit farther back towards that stress area where I need more product. Okay, so at this point we would let that nail dry and then we would file it. I am going to go ahead and do a second one for you guys because I think a lot of times, a lot of these techniques, everything has to happen fairly quickly when you're working with acrylic. The acrylic does have a time that you have to use it. So you only have so much time to work with it. So I know I kind of work a little bit quicker when I'm doing my demos here with acrylic. So let me do a second nail for you guys so you can see all of those techniques one more time. So again, got my form ready to go. I am going to snip off that edge so that I'm not working with an extra long form. I'm going to open up that little perforation on the top, and we're going to bring this, let me come in nice and close for you. right up underneath that free edge, lift up on the free edge, tuck that in on the sides, and bring that back there so you guys can see. I want to make sure this is nice and straight. All right. So same thing. On this one, I'm going to probably work a little bit more kind of in a flow. So I'm not going to stop between each pearl like I did on the last one. So this way you guys can see the full application. Okay. Always tap down your powder to make sure that you always have a nice clean space to pick up your pearl. I'm going to tap out my brush. I'm going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. This one I'm going to let it absorb. I'm going to drain out that liquid. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to set that right at my free edge, wipe out my brush. I'm going to wipe that out. I'm going to press all the way even from side to side, tuck in on the sides, walk that up into the corner. Tuck in on the sides. I'm going to walk all the way across, blending that out, tuck in on the sides, up into the corner, in on the sides, up into the corner. And then we're just going to start to press and pull that product down the length of the form, tucking in on the sides, in on the sides, and again bringing that product nice and even all the way from side to side. I'm going to shorten up my form just a little bit, bringing that product down to the length and shape that we're looking for, tucking in, creating a little bit more of an almond shape, nice long almondetto, bringing that in. And again, you guys notice that as I work, I continue to work from one side all the way to the other. This is just making sure that I have the even thickness all the way from one side to the other, okay? So there is a reason for that. And once we've got our free edge complete, again, notice from the side here, our lower arch is nice and straight because I was using the edge of my brush to tuck that in, okay? Same thing on the other edge, using my brush to tuck that in on the side, okay? All right, we're going to work by our cuticle area. So we're going to pick up another pearl, tap out the back side. We're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe to 5, and set that at my cuticle area, tap out my brush, press out my cuticle, press, press, pivot on the sides, tap those sides, press, press, pivot on the side. My product is flowing down the length of the nail because I've got that nail angled downward. I'm going to blend out the sides, pivot my brush on the side, and again blend out just the edge of that pearl. So just blending through, blending all the way through. Okay. Again, on those sides, make sure you pivot your brush to keep those nice and thin, nice and tapered. Blend that out. Okay, we're going to pick up one more smaller pearl to place right into the center. Same thing, we're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. That one we're just going to drain a little bit. I'm going to turn my brush around, set that pearl right down in that center, into that low spot, blend backwards. I'm going to wipe out my brush there. I'm going to pivot on the side, blend backwards. Let that product flow if it's still able to. And then if it's done flowing, again, you can use your brush to press that product all the way down to the free edge. Pressing from side to side, making sure everything is nice and even all the way across. And if I need to, I can turn my brush back around, blend that product back up to the stress area, creating that beautiful flowing smooth arch. Okay, bringing that down towards the free edge if I need to. Again, if you need to, use the edge of your brush to tuck in on those sides. Blend back as needed. All right, so you guys, these nails will be filed. I know there was a question that they're not perfect. And you guys, when you're sculpting with acrylic, you want to do the best that you can. But as you're sculpting, you want to make sure that you have a nice thin tapered cuticle area, a nice thin free edge, and then a little bit of a higher point right in your stress area, okay? So that is the structure that you need. Everything else can be filed into perfection. We're going to file our lower arches here on the sides here. We're going to file a little bit by our cuticle area, and then we're going to file through the rest of the body of the nail. Now, if you guys need to see filing videos, we have a whole bunch of filing videos here on our YouTube channel. But you guys, I think I'm going to do one more nail for you. Just really quick, I've got one more nail. it is prepped and ready to go. So let me just get that on there so you guys can see that application one more time. And again, you guys, this one is already prepped. I'm just going to quick cleanse that with a little bit of swipe. We'll add our 2 coats of protein bond on there. Somebody's says in the chat here that they have a question. You guys feel free to ask your questions in the chat. I do try to keep an eye on the chat there, but if I miss your question, a lot of times our moderators can answer that for you. So feel free to ask your questions and check that out. But make sure you do hit the subscribe button, join our community, and you can see all kinds of videos here on our YouTube channel. So we have over 3,000 different videos here on our channel. So if you have other questions maybe that we're not able to ask or answer for you today, you can always find a video to help you on our YouTube channel here. Okay? All right, so same thing, pinching that form together. I'm going to snip off that end, shorten that up just a little bit more. You're asking, can I then put over the gel? So what we're creating here is an acrylic enhancement, and then afterwards I am going to use a gel over the top for the design. So stick with us. I'm going to show you how to do that design, but one more time we're going to go through the application with acrylic. And again, we're going to press our brush on the back. Actually, let me tap that down there quick. We're going to press that. We're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to take that pearl. I'm going to drain that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. You guys, I moved too quickly and my pearl fell off my brush. That's okay. We'll just pick up another one. So same thing, tap the back side of my brush. I'm going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. Let it absorb the powder, and then we're going to drain that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll set that right down onto our form. Give it a good press down. Clean out my brush. Use the body of the brush, pressing that product from side to side. Tuck in on the side. Walk that up into the corner. Tuck in on the side, up into the corner. In on the side. Now I'm going to walk all the way across, making sure that my thickness is nice and even from side to side, using the edge of my brush to tuck in and walk up into the corner. Tuck in, walk up into the corner. Now we're going to just start to kind of press and pull that product down the length of the form, pressing and pulling each side. Same thing, using the edge of my brush to tuck in on those sides, and then the fat belly part to press out over the surface. So side of my brush, belly of my brush, side of my brush, belly of my brush. Using both of those areas on your brush to tuck in and create that proper structure and that proper shaping. We're going to use the edge of the brush to kind of clean up that point a little bit, round it out just a little bit. I'm going to pinch my form just a little bit shorter here. Again, tuck in on those sides. And like I was saying earlier, if you don't get your free edge shaping absolutely perfect, that's okay. The structure is in there. When we go to do our filing, that's where we can perfect it a little bit more. So don't panic if your free edge here isn't exactly perfect. You can file that into shape, okay? Now, for our cuticle area and the rest of the body of the nail, I'm going to keep my finger at a slight downward angle. We're going to pick up our pearl. I'm going to tap out the back side of the brush. Again, press, bounce, bounce, bounce. This one we're just going to hold 1, 2, 3, 4 until it gets to more of that kind of a pearl look. Okay, let me show you here again. When we start with that pearl, it's going to look a little bit more like an orange peel texture. So you can see there, it looks a little more textured, but then after we wait about 4 to 5 seconds, it's going to look more like that pearl. That's exactly what we're waiting for, okay? We want to just let it kind of polymerize or set up just a little bit before we apply it to the nail. This way we're going to have a little bit more control over it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we're going to hold 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to set that pearl right at our cuticle area. Press, press, pivot my brush on the sides here, tuck in on those sides. Press, press, pivot my brush, tuck in on those sides. I'm going to pivot my brush and blend the edge, pivot my brush, blend on the edge, tuck in those edges, and then just gently blending just the edge of that pearl. I'm not blending all the way from that cuticle area. I want to keep the bulk of my product right through that stress area. So that's why I'm not blending all the way from back here. If I did blend from back here, I would pull too much of my product and I would not get that proper arch. Okay, so just blending out just the edge of that pearl. Now we are going to fill in this low spot, so don't panic. I know you guys are looking at that thinking it looks like a kind of a duck bill on there, and it does, but we're going to fill that in with one more pearl. So we're going to press out our brush here. We're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. This one I'm just going to tap. So that one I'm not going to completely drain out all of the liquid like we did on our first one, but we're not going to leave all of the liquid like we did on our second one. So it's kind of a combination of pearls. So again, we're going to press, bounce, 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 give it just a quick tap to drain. I'm going to turn my brush around. I'm going to set that pearl down. I'm going to blend back. I'm going to pivot my brush on the sides, blend back, pivot my brush on the side, blend back, wipe out my brush, and then I'm going to use that body of the brush to blend that product out. So pressing that down the length of the nail, pressing that down, and then blend towards the free edge. Now, if you need to pull product down towards the free edge here, you're going to pull your brush forward. If you feel like you want to bring more of that product back up into your stress area here, you're going to blend backwards. So whichever direction you're brushing, that's where you're going to be pulling the bulk of the product towards, okay? So again, blending backwards if I need to pull product back into my stress area, blending forward if I need to pull more product down the length of the nail, okay? Okay, you guys, so you saw the acrylic application and you're seeing the design that we've got on our nail down here. I'm going to switch out some of these nails here. I've actually got a couple of nails already done. And by the magic of the internet, we're going to swap those out so you guys can, so we're going to kind of skip over the filing techniques today. If you do want to see any of our filing techniques, again, make sure to subscribe to our channel here and check out, we have over 3,000 different videos for you. So we have a ton of videos on how to file out nails and to get the proper structure. But let me take these guys out and we'll swap them out for a couple of nails that we've already filed and finished. Now, you guys, if you have our trainer hand, I'm just going to show you something really quick. Did you see how I popped those nails off? Make sure that you're not just lifting those nails up off of there because that can strip the little grippy pieces in there. So I always like to slide those fingers off and then take the nails off that way. So it's just going to help to make the life of your trainer hand last a little bit longer. And then also make sure to, if you guys, I don't know if you can hear this or not, you're going to hear a click on here. Oh, maybe. So you're going to actually hear 3 clicks on our trainer hands. That's how you're going to know that those nails are really secure in there. So you want to make sure that you actually hear all 3 of those clicks. Okay. So you guys, today we're going to do kind of a, it's a Matcha and Mocha inspired design. So that's what we're doing today. And we're going to be using our Mission Control gel paints. Now, I've got 3 different colors here. We've got Clutch, which is the brown color that I used. So a beautiful kind of mocha chocolatey brown. But the color that I started with is called Clash. And this is a very bright green. So kind of that neon green. And I wanted to tone this down a little bit to create more of that matcha color. So you guys, if you go to your favorite coffee shop, they're going to have matcha drinks and it's super trendy right now. And honestly, I've never actually had one, but they always look good. So I'm going to be creating that matcha look with our lime green. And then I'm going to be adding some white to it. So our white is called Fizz. Now, I'm going to show you guys, I already have some mixed, and that's what I used on these nails here. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. When you're mixing your color, make sure that you're mixing enough to cover all of your nails. You don't want to have to try to go back and remix because this color that I've already got on my tile here, on my art palette, that is never going to be the same exact color as if I have to mix it a second time. So make sure that when you mix enough to do all 10 nails all the way through. But I'm going to show you how to mix this one here real quick, and hopefully we'll get fairly close to what I've got. I'm going to compare it to that one just to make sure. But I've got my nails all filed out and ready to go. before I actually add my color and my design, I'm going to dust those nails off. And you guys, I finished filed these with a 150 grit file. So that's the grit that we want to use to finish. You don't need to buff, you don't need to do anything more than that because we're going to be applying gel. And gel likes to stick to a little bit more of a textured surface. So if you try to go through with maybe a buffer, it could create too smooth of a surface. So make sure you're just filing and finishing with the 150 grit file. I am going to pump a little bit more of that swipe onto my manicure brush, and we're going to go ahead and cleanse those nails just like we did on the nails when we were prepping them. Let me come a little closer. So just to gently cleanse the nails and clean off any oils or any dust that may be on the nail. And then just like we did on the natural nail, we're going to grab our protein bond and we are going to apply a coat of that protein bond on the whole nail. And this is going to, just like we were doing with our natural nail prep, this is going to help to really anchor our gel onto that enhancement. Okay, so one coat this time. And then let's go ahead and mix our color. So I'm going to grab my second tile. So you guys, I've got my other one that I did earlier. And I do want to clean off this one. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of polish remover on, oops, sorry guys, give you a little wobble there. I want to make sure that I'm working on a nice clean palette. So cleanse that off really well. And I'm going to grab a spatula. So we're going to start with a little bit of that lime green. And again, this one is called Clash. I'm just going to give that just a quick mix just to make sure that my color is all mixed up. Take a little scoop of that onto our tile and clean off my spatula here. And then we'll grab a little bit of that white. And again, the white is called Fizz. So we'll grab a little bit of that. And we'll start with that and then we'll kind of compare it to our first color and we'll see how we do here. But we're just going to mix that together to create that lighter matcha green. I think maybe we might need a little bit more of the white in there. But again, you guys, make sure that you mix enough for all 10 nails. It's better to have a little bit extra at the end rather than not have enough. So let me clean off my spatula one more time. And we'll grab a little bit more of that white. We'll mix that in. And you guys, get creative with your color mixes. Get creative with your blends. It's so fun to just create custom colors, but also make sure that your clients know that this is a custom color and they may not ever get this exact color again. So it is a custom color, and especially when you are doing custom designs, you want to make sure that you're charging extra for that. This is not just something that your client can grab off your shelf or you can grab off your shelf. This is a custom color, and like I said, nobody will ever have this exact color again. So charge for your custom designs, your custom mixes. And again, you guys, you can see that the one that I mixed earlier today is, I think it's pretty close to what we've got here, but it may not be 100% identical. So again, make sure that you're mixing enough to create your whole entire set so you don't have to go back and try remixing, okay? I'm going to grab this is our Pro Gel Sculptor, and this is our gel brush. It comes actually in two pieces, so I'm going to take that apart, pop one end on there, and now we've got a nice handle. So we've got the handle for our brush, and then we've got the brush. But then it also works as a cover to keep your brush nice and clean. So nice little option here, okay? All right, let's come in nice and close. So I am going to just brush on a nice thin even coat of our color over the nail. And actually that's a little bit more than what I need, so I'm going to just pop that over onto our second nail here. We're going to brush that out nice and thin. I am probably going to do 2 coats of this. You want to make sure that you're applying your colors nice and thin because they are very pigmented, and we do want to make sure that they are completely curing all the way through. So we're just going to brush all the way back to the cuticle, and I love this brush because it's nice and rounded, so I can just kind of give that a little bit of a wiggle up into that cuticle area, and it's going to get right up into that cuticle area and keep it nice and clean. Now I did see I got just a tiny little bit of that gel over onto my cuticle. So I'm going to grab either an orange wood stick or our Polish Perfector detail brush and make sure to clean that off before I cure this in the light. Okay. And you guys, if your first layer is maybe a little bit sheer, that's actually okay. It's going to actually help with curing. So I'm going to do probably 2 thin coats of this. And with that second coat, that's going to kind of build up the color, and it's going to give you a nice, smooth, even coverage. So don't worry if that first coat is, maybe it looks a little bit streaky. With our second coat, that is going to make it nice and even. Okay. So we're going to polish that on all the way through. And we'll go ahead and get this into our full UV LED light. And I'm going to cure that, I'm going to say a minimum of 30 seconds, but a full cure is going to be a minute. So I'm actually going to set my timer for a minute. And I'm going to show you guys a couple other things while that's curing. So what we're going to be working with here, I'm going to also have my touch cure light. Now you guys, I'm not sure if you can actually see, there we go. So our touch cure light, it's got a little stand here, and then the light itself has a little holder here. You can either leave it in that holder and you can use the light from here, or you can actually slide that out and you can use that touch cure light just like this. And I think for today, so you guys can see a little bit better, I'm going to use that here. Now this is what I like to use when I am doing my more detailed designs, because I actually like to use this to set the design in place as I go. So this way I can, if I mix something up or mess something up, then I don't have to start all the way from the beginning. Okay, so you guys will notice I'll use this as we go, but you can take a look. When you turn that on, it will turn the light on at the end, and then you can just use your finger to touch it to turn it off, turn it, sorry you guys, turn it back on, turn it back off. And you guys, I think I need to clean my light here, because sometimes if it gets maybe a little bit, maybe a little product or kind of oils or anything from your fingers on there, if it is a little bit clogged, then that touch cure won't work as well. But now you can see, now that I've cleaned that off really well, it's going to work quick and easy. Okay. All right, so we've got our first layer of color on there. Let's go ahead and get our second coat on. And if you have the coverage that you want with your first coat, you can just go with a first coat. You don't have to apply a second coat, but if you want a more solid coverage, a little bit more of a bold coverage, then definitely go ahead and do a second coat. And I'm just brushing this on nice and thin, nice and even all the way through. And you guys, I love working with the Mission Control gel paints for full coverage, because they go on nice and smooth. They don't run, they don't move. They've got a good viscosity to them, a good thickness to them. So they're going to go on nice and even all the way through. Make sure you do cap those edges for a more finished look all the way around. And we're going to get right up to that cuticle area, blending all the way through. And again, we'll get this back into the light. We're going to cure this for, like I said, minimum 30 seconds, but up to a minute. Oops, you guys, there's a little piece of dust on this one. Let me get that cleaned off of there. All right, so we'll go ahead and get that into the light. Now, next color that I'm going to be using is Clutch, and that is our brown color. So we've got that one. And I'm going to show you a couple of brushes that I'm going to use, one or the other, or maybe both. I'm not exactly sure at this point. But I've got 2 different brushes here. This one on the right is our just our liner brush. And that's a little bit of a longer brush. But then on the left here, we've got our micro detailer. Now you guys, my micro detailer is bent just a little bit, but that's just because of how I use it. I've kind of trained my brush to go this way. So that's how it works for me. So normally when you get the micro detailer brush, it will look nice and straight. But this one is a much smaller bristle. So just depending on what you're comfortable using is what you want to use. Okay. All right. So our nails are cured out well enough. And I think for today, you guys, you can see I've got a couple of different designs on this hand here. I think we're going to actually leave one nail one nail just a solid green. I like to do some solids and some designs on the nails, but we're going to go through and I'm going to show you another variation of this look that we've got. Okay, so to start, I'm going to grab my art palette again. A lot of times I use my art palette to clean my brush out, or sometimes I'll even use the gel either from the little pot there, or a lot of times I'll put a little bit onto my tile here and then I can just drag my brush through there. Now you guys, I want you to see something. So when I dip my brush into the gel, you're going to see that there is, let me show you here. See how it looks kind of like a teardrop at the end? If I were to just try to brush that onto my nail, I'm going to get, let me show you what I'm going to get. If I were trying to do a straight line and I start with that teardrop, I'm going to get a thicker application where I set that down, and then it's going to get thinner as I go. So instead of having that variation, what I'll do is I'll take that brush with the teardrop and I'll just drag that onto my tile. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm actually rolling my brush between my fingers as I drag that brush through. So this way it's actually, let me see if I can show you guys here. So I'm dragging that through and rolling my brush at the same time. So it's rolling the brush more to a point and it's removing some of that excess gel. So now I can go through and I'll have a really nice, let me show you from here. Okay, so same thing, I'll run that through. There we go. So now I'm going to be able to create a nice straight line all the way through and a nice, just a very, very fine line. Now you guys, of course, I had to have coffee this morning, so I am a little bit shaky. So we're going to hope for the best on this design, but it'll be fine. You guys, it'll be fine. Okay. So again, we're going to grab a little bit of that gel paint. I'm going to dab that out onto my tile, rolling my brush through that paint, removing the excess. Now, a lot of times we have the urge to take that brush and lay that brush flat down the nail. And if that works for you, great. But another technique is basically to just use the point of the brush. So if you take a look, I'm going to keep the brush a little bit more straight, kind of pointing straight at that nail. I'm not going to lay it down flat here, okay? So I'm going to start with that brush. We're going to pick a center dot right in the middle of the nail. And we're going to just drag that brush straight down, basically using the point of the brush. Okay, so again, picking a center point. I'm going to take a breath because you guys, sometimes when I do line work and very detailed work, I tend to forget to breathe. And so when I forget to breathe, that's when I start to really get shaky. Okay, but you were able to see I was able to get that line nice and straight down the nail. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that gel just to make that line a little bit more bold. I'm using a little bit more pressure as I get towards that point, so that way I get a little bit more paint coming off my brush, a little bit more gel off my brush. Whew, I can breathe again. Okay, so I got my first line down there. This is where I do like to use that Touch Cure Light. So I've got that line on there. It's yeah, so I've got that line on there. I am going to use that Touch Cure Light to just freeze that into place. So this way, when I go to do the rest of my design, I'm not going to smudge that line. It's not going to move. I'm not going to anything. I'm not going to bump that or anything. So if I do need to maybe wipe off the next part that I do, if I smudge up something on the next part, I can wipe it off, but I still have that line straight down the center. Okay. Somebody's asking, is this an actual live? At this point in time, right here on YouTube, yes, we are live streaming, but we will post this video back on our YouTube channel, so you can rewatch this at a later time if you want to. So all of these techniques that I'm showing you guys, if you want to rewatch them, you are welcome to rewatch and see that again, okay? All right, so now at this point, I'm going to pick another point. So I'm going to pick a center point right here. So right in the middle. You guys, my little light keeps rolling off the table here. Hang on a second. Okay, so I'm going to pick a center point right there in the middle. And I'm going to pick another point. Actually, let's do one point at a time. I think we'll focus one point at a time. So again, we're going to drag the brush through that paint. And on this one, you can go all the way from one side to the other if that's easiest for you. But a lot of times what I like to do is I'll start at that center point and then I'm going to pull to the side. Just pulling right to the side, just creating a nice smooth line all the way to the edge. And again, you guys, if you want to, you can freeze that one into place. For me, to get to this other side, again, I could come from the other side here, but sometimes I will actually turn the finger around and I'll work from the other direction. Sometimes it's easier for me to pull my brush from the left to the right because I'm right-handed. So whatever works for you, if it works to go all the way across, you can go all the way across. If it works easier to get a more straight line to turn the hand around, you can do that as well. But for me, again, I do one side first and then flip the hand over to do the other side. Now, we're going to do that same thing right up in here. So that was our center point of the nail. Now I'm going to create a center point between up here by our cuticle and that center point down here. So that is going to be right about here. Okay. Same thing. We're going to pull the brush from the center out to the side. And again, you guys, make sure that you breathe. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing down below. I'm going to pick a center point here and bring that out to the side. Now, could you do all of these lines at the same time? Yes. And then turn around and then do your other side. So you didn't have to do just that first one. Although, you guys, that's kind of a fun design just in itself. Yeah, I kind of like those little lines right there. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit more of that paint on the brush. Just finish out that line all the way across. A little bit more paint on my brush. Oh, sorry, you guys, I want to make sure you can see here. And again, finish that line all the way across. Okay, one more time, I'm going to hit this with our Touch Cure light. But again, if you want to maybe put the whole hand into the UV LED light to cure, you can definitely do that. If you're working on two hands, I would definitely put this hand into the full light while you're working onto the other hand. So that way you're not going to be spending any extra time curing or anything like that, okay? So just a quick cure, maybe 20 seconds or so to just set those into place. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we are going to create kind of that diamond shape, okay? And we're actually going to create our diamond shape. Let me grab our paint here. We're going to create a diamond shape up in this section and a diamond shape down here at this section. We'll get to that center in just a minute. But I'm going to take a little bit more of that paint on the brush. And this is where, if you feel like you want to, maybe you want to switch over to that micro detailer brush. That may help you to get a little bit more detailed. But I think I'm going to stick with my liner brush. I just want to give you guys some options to make sure you're doing what's going to work best for you. So all we're going to do at this point is we're going to basically connect from kind of a center point in this line here. So choose a center point here and choose a center point in this line. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that on camera, but kind of center point dot here and a center point dot here. And we're just going to do a little swoop. So just a little swoop between the two. It's not going to be a straight line. We want a little curve to it. So a little swoop right there. Same thing, we're going to pick a center point here, and we're going to go from here, little swoop to that center point down there. And again, you guys, if it's not perfect, don't panic, because there is a way to clean it up before you cure. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. Okay, same thing over here, find our center point, swoop, a little more gel from our center point, and swoop. And yes, you guys, that's the technical term, swoop. You got to swoop the line. All right, so we're just going to clean that up, touch that up a little bit. If we need to over here. And you guys, you can see as I work, I do rotate that finger into different directions. So this way I can see from different angles. Sometimes it helps to see from that different angle. Okay. And then we're just going to fill in the center. Just gently filling that in, kind of pulling that gel all the way through. Now, if you weren't thrilled with how your lines came out, you could take a little bit more of that gel. You can go through and try to crisp those up a little bit more if you need to. Or, I'm going to show you in just a second what else you can do. So just kind of cleaning those up. And again, if it's easier for you, you can definitely turn that hand around. So if you want to come back from this angle, you can come back from that angle to get those other edges. Swooping through. Okay. Now, to show you the other way to help kind of clean up, I'm going to grab that gel brush that I was using earlier. I'm going to clean out that green gel from it, just wiping that out gently. I'm going to just tap that brush a little bit more rounded. You can use your brush to come in here and clean up those edges if you need to. So if that helps you to get a little bit more of that straight line, oops, I need just a little bit more. All right, you guys, now I smudged it up, but that's okay. We can touch that up, clean that up right through there. Okay. So again, if you need to, you can freeze this into place with that Touch Cure Light. Now you guys, I know my shaping isn't 100% perfect on this. That's okay, because with my second layer, I'm going to be able to kind of clean that up a little bit more, okay? So we'll go ahead and create our second diamond shape right down here. Same thing. Swoop that little line right down there. A little bit more of the gel. Swoop that right down there. A little more gel, swoop that down. Again, I'm just basically going kind of from that center point here to the center point here and just connecting those lines. Guys, it's just like when we were kids. I don't know, maybe some of you are still kids, but we're doing the connect the dots here. I don't know if kids still have that these days, but we're doing the connect the dots. So again, just pulling that down, connecting the dots, and we'll just fill in that space. And you guys, you can see this is going on a little bit sheer, and that's okay. We'll go ahead and do a second layer just like we did with the green to make sure that everything is nice and covered. So we've got really good coverage all the way through. Just going to go through, clean up that edge a little bit, clean up my line a little bit more right there. And now you guys, I'm starting to get the little shaky shakes. So sometimes as I do detailed work like this, I do start to get a little shaky, and a lot of times I'll just stop. I'll stop and kind of maybe put my brush down, take a breath, and that's how usually I will be able to calm those shaky hands. So if you need to do that, go ahead and just take a breath, take a second. I'm just going to clean up my edges here just a little bit. And then again, I'm going to hit this with that Touch Cure Light. We're going to freeze both of those into place. Okay, so just quick. Yes, somebody says, don't try to hurry, do it slowly. Yes, with designs like this, absolutely. You do want to take it slow, and you do want to move your brush slow, because sometimes if you move too fast, then you do kind of smudge up your design and things like that. So absolutely. Don't feel like you have to rush through these kind of designs. And just make sure that you do book out enough time if you're working on your clients to provide these services, okay? So don't ever feel the pressure to rush through these kind of designs. It will not turn out great if you rush, okay? So we're just gonna go through, and I'm gonna clean up some edges here. Clean those up a little bit. Again, using that point of my brush. And if I need to, I can use my other brush to come through and clean that up as well. Okay. And guys, I'm just going to grab a little bit of swipe on my lint-free wipe here to clean out my brush, making sure that I don't have any of that color in there. There we go. Okay, a little bit more of that color. And we'll just clean up those edges a little bit, and we'll fill in the center. bringing that right through. And you guys, there's lots of options with this style. So like I was showing you on the other nails, a lot of different options for creating those diamond shapes, but just bringing that point right down there. And I'm just going to flow into my next design. We'll come back through down here, touch up anything that we need to touch up. A little bit more of that gel all the way through. You guys, sometimes I do have a hard time actually talking while I'm doing the design work here. So if you do need to do that with your clients, just let them know. I need to focus on my design. I might not be able to carry on a conversation while I'm doing this kind of detail work, and it's okay to let them know that. You just don't want to, don't be rude to them and say, say anything rude. You don't want to do that. But just let them know that you do need to focus on the design so you're not able to talk with them as you're creating the design. Okay? All right, we're going to do one more little freeze cure into place to set this one into place. And then we're going to finish up with two more little things on the edges here. So just a quick freeze there. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that gel paint from the pot, set that onto my tile. Now we're going to take that center line and we're going to do basically the same thing, but just over here on the side. So we're going to take and we're going to find our center point from here. So our center point here, and I'm just going to sweep that right up the edge. Same thing here, center point, sweep that down. Grab a little bit more of that gel right through those edges, and again, fill in that edge. And I think I want to just clean this up a little bit right through there. And then I'm going to just bring that straight from the center down the side. All right, we're good there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now this one, you guys, I am going to turn this one around. This one I do need to work from this view. And again, it's okay to do that. Your clients are mobile. You can turn them around. All right, so this one again, we're going to pick our point over here. We're going to go from the center, sweep that out to the side, and the center, sweep that out to the side. Fill in the middle. And again, if I need to do a second coat, I can freeze this one into place and then I can go ahead and do a second coat to fill in. All right, I think we're looking about right. Okay, so again, I'm going to hit this with my touch cure light, freeze that center into place, and then we can go ahead and do a second coat. All right, same thing, grab a little bit more of that gel just to fill in, touch up any edges or touch up any lines that you need to. But you guys, notice how I'm using my fingers over here to really balance. That's going to also help to stabilize your hand. So when you are doing designs like this, or even if you're just polishing nails, it helps to stabilize your hand so that you're not going in shaky. Okay, so just another little extra trick. I'm going to fill that in right through there. And just set that into place for a few more seconds. Now you guys, on my other nails, I got to this point and I thought, you know what, it just needs something else. It just needs a little bit of an accent. So if you like your design just like it is like this, you can leave it. Otherwise, I'm going to grab that, where's my Fizz? So that white gel paint and a dotting tool. And we're just going to add in a few little accent dots, little details wherever you want. Not even sure where I want to add these. Maybe we'll just go right through here. So dot, 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 dot. Just kind of letting those dots trail off a little bit. And maybe we'll do over on this side. Maybe we'll do dot, dot, oops, a little bit more of a dot. Just kind of letting those trail off. Oh, I like how that one is. Okay, so let's go ahead and freeze that one into place again as well. Just maybe another 20 seconds or so with that touch cure light. And then we can do our top coat chant in the chat. So those of you that may be new to our channel here, if you don't know what our top coat chant in the chat is basically when we are ready to finish our design, we're ready to finish our nail, and we're ready to do our top coat. You guys can just start typing into the chat, just write in top coat, top coat, top coat. And that's kind of our way of sealing our design and finishing up our live stream. But make sure to also subscribe to our channel here so that you can always get all of this free education and do some fun nails with us. Now, to finish our nails, I'm going to be using our Ultimate Finish Gel. And I absolutely love this gel because it is a beautiful consistency, especially when you're working on designs like this. Sometimes the designs will add a little bit of texture to the nail, and the Ultimate Finish Top Coat is a little bit of a thicker viscosity. So it's going to help to smooth out that surface and create a more of a smooth surface rather than any texture that you may feel. Okay, so we're just going to we're going to do a quick coat of our top coat all the way through. And I'm going to finish up our second nail here. This one we just did that color on there. We didn't do any extra design, but I actually like that to have kind of an accent. So sometimes we get so much design work that I think sometimes it takes away from the design. So by having just a solid color, I feel like is a great accent to your design work. So I am going to pop this into the light. And normally I would cure the Ultimate Finish Gel for a full 60 seconds. You want to make sure that you're giving that gel a full cure. This is also, that 60 seconds is also going to cure all of the rest of our gel paint that's on there, because we were only using our touch cure light to freeze that into place as we went. So we didn't do a full cure on that. But now we are going to do a full cure all the way through. Now, I am only going to freeze that into place for maybe 30 seconds here so you guys can see the final look. But just make sure that if you are using the top coat that you do a full cure of 60 seconds all the way through. All right, you guys, we've got our beautiful design done here, our stars. I think they're going to be stars. Diamonds or stars? You guys, what do you think? Diamonds or stars? Let me know in the chat what you think. But hopefully this has inspired you guys to do some Matcha and Mocha designs and enjoy using the Mission Control gel paints. I hope you guys had fun today. I did. I'm so happy to be back here with you guys this week. And make sure to subscribe to our channel and join us again. Usually we go live here on YouTube 3 days a week. We're here usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're now on Whatnot, so make sure to check us out there. We are on Discord, Instagram, Facebook, you guys, all of the different social medias, so make sure to check us out on there. Shannon says, I like your nails on your hand. You guys, if you want to see how these nails were done, we actually have a video on our live, on our channel that I did a live stream showing how to do this design. So make sure to check that out here on our channel, and you can see exactly how I did those dimensional nails. But you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you had fun, and we'll see you guys back next time. Thanks, everybody.